Duncan, I have to say, it's been, this conversation has been fantastic. And actually, what I really want to ask you now really is very much about Mr. Baldwin. So where do you basically worked, you've done loads of things that, you've done policy, as we've been talking about. So you've been involved in policy, you've been involved, you're an educationalist, you've been involved in ed tech. You've been doing some amazing things with data and trying to pull those people together and make sure they collaborate as well. I know you've only just started your headship, so I appreciate, I'm not trying to push you into another role immediately, but where do you see it all going? Where's your next, what's the things that are going to drive your passion? Because you obviously have a passion for all three.
Yeah.
So how, what's
the driver? I don't think they're mutually exclusive, Nick. And some of the things that I've spoken about here are things that I'm bringing into the job I'm doing at the moment. I don't know, as you say, I'm 4 months in, so and I think the last years, if anything else, has taught us that predicting the future is a pretty dubious business. But as a trust, though, it's we've just got 3 schools, and we're sort of starting off on that journey of being a trust. Really, I'm sort of starting off on the headship journey as well. But we do want to be outward facing. We do want to connect, like this, or like however we can with other schools. We want to learn from them, work with them. And this is, the sort of the collaboration message, if you like, is something that I can put into place where I am now, as much as I could have done, in any of the previous settings. So I don't know, but I do know that we'll try and, we'll try and pick up on some of those themes. I really hope that the our 6 into 7 collaboration goes well. I hope it goes well for me, because I need the data. I hope my colleagues in Colville's primary schools will do that. They've said they've had the invitation from me to share the data, which is great. But I hope that works well more broadly. I think if it doesn't, I'll be sort of sad that people don't get that, because it could transform. I mean, transition's been difficult to do forever. It was difficult when I was sort of in school in the last time. It was always problematic. Getting to the schools, getting the data out. We should be, instead of sort of moaning about it, we should be doing something. So, trying to do something about it, I can do, I think, with whichever chair I'm sitting in. But I'm loving what I'm doing. The job I've got at the moment is fascinating, because it's involved merging 2 schools together, a high school and upper school, M14 and 14 to 18 school. So there's lots to do there. We've got new buildings on the way, I'm pleased to say, courtesy of Boris Johnson visiting the school. Questionable COVID circumstances, but Julia, the CEO, did a great job of convincing them that we needed some new buildings. So we hopefully got some of those on the way. So there's a lot to do. So I don't know, Nick, but there are some themes that wherever we get to, as a head, we'll be talking about collaboration, talking about using data properly, talking about using data to evaluate, learning from other schools. These are whichever seat I'm in. So clearly I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be drawn there. But when I'm on my knees at the end of the year, I'll talk around it again. But I absolutely love it. The kids are fantastic. The students are fantastic. Particularly at the moment, crikey. So, our year 11, year 13 students are going through this sort of, mess, government caused mess, to be frank. Government could have taken a more sensible view about this and said, well, okay, the pandemic may still be going on, rather than saying, no, it's exams all the way. I mean, they were told, believe me, they were told they needed a plan B. But our students have risen to that in an amazing way. So I'm just hugely impressed with them as a group. And as part of that, we've asked parents about if there are particularly difficult circumstances that our students have been in, for them to email us confidentially, so we can think about that when we're looking at the grades. And I had to, and they have done, and I had to lock myself away actually for when I was reading some of those, because they're so, the experiences some of our students have been so sort of appalling over the last year, and the impact on lost loved ones, and parents who lost jobs, lost accommodation in some cases, and yet they are so resilient. It's they are a remarkable group. So real privilege to be working with the young people and parents of the town.
I think I always think it's interesting because we talk about the resilience of the youth, and they have been, it's been a remarkable, really, when you consider what they've had to go through. Adults find it difficult enough, but so imagine, I always sort of imagine, like, I've got a nephew who's 6, so 1 year out of 6, so a sixth, for 1/6 of his life, he's ultimately had to be indoors.
Yeah, I know. It is so, and so we'll have years, won't we, to sort of think through that impact. And just sort of taking that back actually to the 6 and to 7 in Leicestershire, I know the local authority is interested in that information that's being passed, because that is a way to look at the impact on those learners, because we've got these sets of teacher assessments. We can look at how that's affected, how students have done in year 6 according to their teachers. And compare it to previous years potentially. So there's a sort of system level benefit potentially in our local authority area of doing that. But yeah, absolutely. So we've got plenty to do. I'm really enjoying working with my colleagues and the students at Castle Rock and in our trust, and there's a lot to do. Both that would be needed to do outside the pandemic, because of where the schools are, but also following it up to sort of try and repair, and support students the best we can.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I don't know. We'll see. Never try and predict the future, Nick.
No, I totally understand that. So if it's all right with you, I'm just going to put one offer out there.
Oh, are you? All right, go on then.
And I think ultimately, if anyone, any edtech company which is looking to do that collaboration, really wants to understand the needs of senior leaders, and wants to get involved in some of what you've been talking about, I'm assuming you're happy to talk to them.
Oh, absolutely. So any way we can move further towards that journey, absolutely. Really happy to try and help that in any way, time permitting. But yeah, if that, by all means, that's a great call to action from this, actually. Thank you.
So it leaves me to say a big thank you, Duncan. It's a massive, great insights. Do you know, I think there's a lot for EdTech to take on board. I think, again, going back to the collaboration piece, and maybe even opening themselves up to more collaboration with other companies as well. I think that is probably the strongest message about collaboration, and making sure listening to the school leaders as much as anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And likewise, school leaders sort of galvanizing themselves to be able to have that conversation, and to not be afraid of, not be driven by EdTech, but to be the drivers of EdTech. Absolutely. So there's work to do for both camps, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So big thank you, and I appreciate your time, because I know you're a busy person. So it's fantastic talking to you, and again, a massive thank you for willing to do this.
Lovely, Nick. Thanks very much for the opportunity. It's okay.
Take care.